Welcome back to a new week on Out of the Bubble podcast. I hope it's been a good one for you. So today I am joined by Claire Kenny. Claire Kenny describes herself as a writer, a mother, and a greyhound owner living in Yorkshire. We first met at the Yorkshire Blogger Awards last year, and we have the love of writing and sharing our stories, and she is also a regular contributor for the fabulous 40 and Beyond magazine. If you don't already know about this magazine, I will share the links because it's so worth a read. The way that Zena and her team have created a magazine that is so relatable to the modern midlife women today, I just love it. Great content. So I'll leave the links for that. So Claire's a writer, and she's used her writing and her blog, My 40 Plus Life, as a way to document her journey through midlife, from divorce to dating to all the ups and downs, the tribulations of going through this next chapter. And I know it's her story, and the way that she tells it is something that you are all going to relate to. So looking forward to talking to a fellow Yorkshire lass, and grab a coffee and enjoy. So good morning. We meet again, Claire. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? It's lovely to see you.
And you. I've just said in the introduction that we met last year, didn't we, at the briefly at the Yorkshire Bloggers Awards, which seems like ages ago now.
Resplendent in white.
Yes, yeah. Are you going again, actually? Are you going to go to the awards again this year?
Yeah, I am. I haven't actually got around to doing very much on the back of the awards in terms of any entries or asking anyone to nominate me, but I loved it, so I'll definitely be going again.
It's just nice to celebrate some Yorkshire talent, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was nice that it was all Yorkshire talent.
Yeah.
And nice to be in a space that's almost exclusively other bloggers as well. That was really nice for me, as a relatively new blogger.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning about, I said in the introduction about your blog and the work that you've been doing, but what made you start it in the first place? And tell us all about it.
Well, I've been getting this niggling feeling for quite some time that there was something just not quite right, something missing in my life. I'd initially, after the end of my marriage, I had initially, obviously, felt very upset and sad, and it was a real struggle to kind of process everything. But after I got the initial kind of pain processed, I thrived for quite a while. I was glad to be kind of a person in my own right again, discovering who I was out of the marriage, etc. And then after a while, I just thought, this isn't enough. I just feel a little bit flat. And I just couldn't figure out what it was. And I think you only kind of realise that you've been on that journey in hindsight. I've been single 7 years now, nearly. I think I'm 46. And I did go on a bit of a journey. Here I am saying it again, it's very corny, isn't it? But I think you do go on a bit of a journey when you come out of any sort of long-standing phase in your life, to learn about who you are as a person in your own right. And I look back now and I can see that I didn't even really know that much about myself. I didn't know what made me happy. I didn't know what my kind of hopes and dreams were, and I was kind of just treading water a little bit. So I decided to, really kind of consciously focus on that. And one of the things I knew I loved, and I've always loved and always will, is writing. And the concept, initially of sharing my innermost thoughts and experiences was terrifying and not something I would ever have contemplated doing. But the more I went down that path of writing makes me happy, what can I do to make it more a part of my life, the more I realised that I was going to have to write about my own experiences, and it was that really switched me on and made me excited. So I did it, and from there it's, I had like 4 followers on Twitter or something, and I'd shared the blog, and I thought, well, I don't know whether I'm more scared that no one will read it or more scared that people will. But it's really kind of steadily grown. And I'm now quite proud, because I think what I'm doing, I think I've really got comfortable with who I am as a blogger. I'm trying to be a bit of an antidote to all of this posturing, showing off, jostling for status that we see on social media by figureheads. And I think it's all very toxic. So I try to make my content more relatable, more real, and more soothing for people. Why on earth would you go on social media only to feel like crap because someone else has got massive balloon arch every time someone farts. You hire a balloon arch, or you have these obscene flower arrangements for no reason, and it all feels really empty and superficial to me. So I wanted to do something to balance that out, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I love about you, Claire. That's what I love about the way you write. You are so relatable, and you are keeping it real, and you are sharing from the heart. And I think that comes across in your writing. And there is a vulnerability in that, isn't there? But what kind of response did you get from other women?
Well, increasingly, now that it's growing and more people are seeing it, I'm getting more responses. At first, my first blog, I just got my mates and my mum messaging me saying, "Well done, Claire, this is brilliant," which is obviously wonderful. But I think if there's anything that you love doing, truly, you want to share it with other people.
Yeah.
So I'm now getting messages from people all over the world message. I'm not saying I get thousands of messages, I really don't, but I do get contacts from people, diverse people, people all over the world, just to say thank you for putting something into words that I couldn't necessarily articulate myself.
Yeah.
So that's the reward I get for making myself feel extremely uncomfortable on many occasions. But I think when I do feel the most uncomfortable and the most vulnerable is definitely when I get the best responses from people.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm really passionate about with the podcast, is we all have these stories to share and to tell, and it takes bravery to do that, but you can help somebody else out by somebody else reading your blog post on a particular subject, that they're having a bad day. They can relate to your story. They think, actually, I'm not alone. Other women go through this. Can help people so much, can't it?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. And not everyone is in a position where they feel they can tell their story.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I say, when you go to places that make you feel uncomfortable, it's like I had a conversation with my sister last weekend about going out on my own, which is something I did last Saturday. And I was sat in this auditorium thinking, are you an absolute loser, or are you doing something that's quite exciting? I wasn't even going to tell my mum and my sister, and we're all best friends. I was just going to keep it to myself because I couldn't bear the thought of them thinking, "Oh, Claire, don't go out on your own." And I didn't want to put that across. So I thought the next day, should I actually share this, or is it a bit embarrassing? And I did it, and that's the best response to a piece of writing that I've ever got since I started. So.
Because we kind of taught, aren't we, from an early age to do things like that. It's almost like a shame that we have to, that we should be embarrassed about wanting to do things on our own. And actually, it can be really liberating and give you a new sense of freedom to learn to sit comfortably with yourself enough to be confident to go out on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's not that I don't have, I guess, people to do things with either. Yeah. It's just I wanted to do something different. A lot of my friends and my family, and I socialise with my family more than I do my friends. They're all kind of in couples. They've got no interest really in going out when it's snowing and blowing a gale force wind. When they're all kind of settled, they're in a different space than I am. Yeah. Whereas I still feel like I'm kind of looking to do new things and discover new things, probably because I haven't settled down. Yeah. So I just thought, well, I'll just give it a go. I'll just do something. And it's not the first time I've done anything on my own, of course, but it's the first time I've gone out on a Saturday night on my own.
Yeah. Well done you. And so that hopefully that sparks more off, because why should we wait for other people when we want to do something? That's the thing, isn't it? We can take control of our lives like that, can't we?
We can, and it's like somebody's comment on Facebook really struck a chord with me, and she said, if we wait for someone else to do something with, we will miss out on life. It'll pass us by. And it really resonated with me. Yeah. And I thought, I could be single. Well, I could be single forever, or I could be single for another year or two. Am I just going to sit at home every time I fancy doing something just because there's nobody there to do it with on a Saturday night? No, I'm not. Thanks.
Yeah, love it. Keep going.
Yes.
And talking about being single, you have been open about kind of dating experiences and sharing that on your blog as well. So how have you found that whole experience? Because I know last week I talked to Lisa, who shared about going through divorce, and she found somebody later on, but we never really touched on the fact that what's it actually like to go out dating in midlife, especially when you've been in a long-term relationship, you've got to start all over again. It's different, isn't it?
It's rubbish. It's rubbish. I'm not gonna paint a glossy picture of this at all. For me, I didn't have a great experience using apps in particular. And I'm sorry, that's my dog, if you can see something on camera. Yeah, it's not something I will ever go back to, doing apps. I'm not averse to dating at all, but I can't cope with the anxiety of going to meet someone I've never met before. You know, what are they going to be like? What are they going to look anything like their photo? And that sounds quite shallow, but attraction is important.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I had, don't get me wrong, I met some very nice people when I was online dating for a good few years on and off. But I also met some not so nice people, and it just didn't bring anything to my life at all. And I can see now in hindsight, I was using it to fill a gap that I didn't know what was missing, but I assumed it was relationship shaped, and it isn't.
Yeah, it's good to get to that place, isn't it? And it's interesting because I had the opposite experience. I was on Match.com, and I actually met my husband Mark through that.
Right.
So
yeah,
no, I did. Yeah, so
yeah,
I got divorced at 40 and had a couple of years of single life and disastrous dates, and you know, and I do completely relate to the fact that people are so, they're not upfront on a lot of these dating apps, and that's the worry. You know, I had an experience where somebody's profile picture didn't look anything like the picture they sent me the day before I was meant to meet them, so that was a red flag, and I'll see you later, thank you. But on the flip side of that, I did meet Mark after some conversations, but I came off and we talked on Facebook for 6 months before we actually met in person. So it was a kind of long week. Our friendship grew that way. So it's interesting to hear different people's experiences. And I think there's a lot to navigate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think when I came out of my marriage, and I dare say this is the same for a lot of other women in their 40s, I was spectacularly naive. My ex-husband would never, ever have played mind games or been manipulative. And it genuinely just didn't occur to me. I honestly thought, right, I've kind of grieved for the end of my marriage. I'm ready now. I'm going to meet someone lovely and skip off into the sunset. That was so naive. And I also didn't understand the concept of chemistry. It's something that I completely took for granted. And I didn't realise how vitally important chemistry is and how elusive it is as well.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, there's absolutely, I know it's not everything, but there's no point in building a relationship with no chemistry. Otherwise, it's just a friendship, surely.
Yeah. But equally, how exciting is it that you've had this time in your life to explore yourself? Because you say now that this decade has been your time to find out who you are and really embrace and own that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really powerful time in my life. I suppose before your 40s, you focused on maybe quite sort of, you're in the moment with, bringing up younger children. I've got a daughter now, obviously. But I think when they're young and really dependent on you, you're totally wrapped up in the day-to-day and the present.
Yeah.
Whereas I think as life goes on, maybe your children get a little bit older or you get a little bit older, you've just got more time to step back and reflect on things. And that's how I've spent my 40s. And I always think to myself, maybe I'm 46 now, it may be quite nice. I don't really mind if I'm single like for the rest of my 40s and I maybe meet someone when I'm 50 or onwards, because I just imagine what I could have done with my life in that time and how much more I'll grow. And that's quite exciting, that I will perhaps be coming at relationships and love from a much healthier place than I have in the past. And then I think you attract someone on that same vibration or wavelength as you. Whereas when I came at it not fresh from my marriage, because it was I think it was about 18 months after my marriage ended that I started trying to find someone. And I came at it from such a place of desperation. That just never, I need a partner in order to carry on with my life and get that box ticked. that's not a healthy way to approach love. You're
No, but
never going to attract the wrong people.
it's very difficult to fall. It's hard not to fall into that trap. And so many people listening to this, I can imagine, will relate to it, because you're usually surrounded by friends that you've had for a long time that are all in couples. And so you become kind of alienated, and there's always that need to fit into society, isn't there? And that's the hard bit to really try and push past, I think.
Definitely. And it's painful and it takes work. I know it sounds probably quite cheesy, but I've really had to work on being comfortable as a single woman. You know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out of this mindset of, unless I'm a part of a couple, I'm not winning at life. You know, I'm kind of failing in some way. And it's quite and that was clearly baked in to me. You know, I'm not sure why. And it really used to bother me and upset me. And it took a lot of hard work to shift it. And I'm quite proud of the fact that I can now genuinely say, I love my life. And it doesn't kind of matter if I meet anyone or not. I think most people would like to experience, you know, that real love, but I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, and I think I got to that stage and I thought, well, actually, if I do meet somebody now, that's like the cherry on top of the cake.
Exactly, yeah, you build yourself and your life up, don't you? And then it's just an enhancement rather than the basis of your life. How long were you single for then? Before
a couple of years. Yeah, I was probably single for 2 years, and then I met Mark. But Mark was in London and I was in Yorkshire with 3 young kids. So kind of logistically, it was like, you know, how is this ever going to work? So we had lots of traveling backwards and forwards from London to Yorkshire for a couple of years. But But
you made it work, because
exactly.
I think if something it did work, doesn't it? You just make it work.
And actually, when I look back now, that period of time when we did still have more space to learn to get to know each other more without being in each other's faces and on each other's doorstep was actually really healthy.
Yes, yeah. I think now, I think, you know, if I did meet someone and it was a whirlwind, it might be a bit overwhelming for me, because I'm just used to it being me and my daughter and the dog. And it's quite a transition, isn't it, to welcome someone back into your home when you've got everything just as you want it.
So what sort of things have you done to get to where you are now? What are some of the things that have really helped you grow the most, do you think?
So I think social media, although I spend a lot of time sort of disparaging it in my writing, was actually very helpful, because I thought, right, what's one of the first easy things I can do to sort of change my thought process and change the kind of victimhood that I seem to have placed myself in. So I built this community around me on social media, particularly on Instagram, of other single women, maybe famous women, you know, extremely high profile, and other normal women who I still interact with now. So it normalised that kind of independent life that I was living, rather than, I think, before, when I kind of didn't consciously think about it, it was just taken for granted that all the content I was accessing, or the in real life and digital life, was people who were coupled up. So that was one of the first things I did. And I also did some reading. So, of course, I've now promptly forgotten all of the reading I've done. I could maybe follow up with a few. So I've read not that much, you know, I don't sit and constantly read how to be on your own, you know, and win at life or whatever. But there's a few books that were quite transformative for me, by women who had been single for a long time, and perhaps gone on to meet someone. But that wasn't the point. It was just about how their philosophy on being independent and being single for a long time, and that was very soothing to me. The other thing I did was write, and writing is the way I process things, and sometimes I can write a blog, and sometimes I think, before I publish things, people are going to think I'm absolutely insane, but I'll say it anyway because it's true. I can sit and write a blog and I can cry while I'm writing it. You know, and I think this is actually good, because it's therapy. I can also sit and laugh my head off when I'm writing things as well. And it gets it all out. It processes and crystallizes how you're feeling and experiencing something. And I've written several blogs on being single, on dating, that was a funnier one. Single one was a bit more kind of deep and meaningful. Valentine's Day as a single woman.
Yeah, that's just I did a post about that because I have an issue with Valentine's Day, because I just think it's a made-up day for the commercial purposes only, but the pressure it puts on other people in society that don't fit into that perfect scenario, it's just unrealistic and it's unfair, and I do think it's really damaging. Actually, I don't like it at all.
Well, I mean, I've got mixed feelings on it, because when I wrote about it originally, it made me realise it was a hugely helpful process to go through writing my blog on Valentine's Day as a single woman, and it actually made me realise that we're conditioned into thinking it's them and us, you know. So them is the people sat in a French bistro holding hands over a souffle or whatever, and us is us sad artists sat at home watching a box set. But it's not as black and white as that. You know, there are so many different variations when it comes to the way we view relationships. So there's people who may have found that wonderful love and their partners may have unfortunately, you know, passed away, or there's people who are in relationships who really don't want to be in them anymore and they feel trapped. People in abusive relationships, people who choose to be single. So there's so many different, and that was quite comforting to come to that realization, because I think I had victimized, felt like a victim for such a long time about it, forgotten and just kind of saw it in a very black and white way. And I think this year particularly, seeing Valentine's Day as a real tool for local businesses to get hospitality. Sorry, the dog's very noisy. For local restaurants, etc., and florists to get some money back in the coffers, which is a really good thing. And I also loved seeing my favourite restaurant do Galentine's Day as well.
Yes, I like that.
That was quite cool.
Yeah.
So I've got feelings about it, but I do get that it makes you feel really crappy if you let it.
Yeah. Maybe it should just be a general love day, so then we can show love to everybody, and it's not just, maybe that's the direction it'll go to.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. So have you got kind of goals now that you've set yourself for this next chapter? What would you like to achieve?
Yeah, so I believe very strongly in something that I call following your breadcrumbs. Don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
When something in you is telling you that you're on the right track with something, and I'm feeling so strongly with my writing and sharing elements of my life with people. So I want to just continue on that track and see where that takes me, because it seems to be, this recipe of being honest and vulnerable, and at the age I'm at, and a single woman, seems to be very relevant. So I'm going to continue with that. And also I'm writing a book as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So I work full time, but I'm quite busy. But I'm also writing a book, and that's in partnership with a social media group called Running at 40 Plus.
Right.
And that it's a kind of a refuge, I suppose, and a community for 40 plus runners who've used running to get themselves through some sort of trauma or negative experience. And the book is a compilation of their stories. And I'll
fabulous.
But so it's anything from bereavement, addiction, through to loneliness, mental health issues. So that's quite an exciting project.
Because running's been a big part of your journey, hasn't it? Running has really been something that you've really enjoyed doing.
Yeah, and going back to when I first kind of realised that I didn't actually know what made me happy, what I enjoyed doing, and what my dreams were. I had to really think. It surprised me actually how hard I had to think about what I enjoyed. And I knew, God, who enjoys running? But I get something out of it. So I thought, right, I'll pursue that. I'm not just going to keep running on my own, running badly, not running far enough because I'm lazy on my own. So I joined a running club, and that's been really transformative for me as well. It's I've met some lovely people. It's given me a real kind of focus throughout my week, and a real sense of being plugged into something. So I do the park run, for example, on a Saturday, I might run it, or sometimes I'll volunteer and be a marshal. Just get so much out of it, and I've met some lovely people doing it. So yeah, it's helped me on a kind of physical level, because I gained a significant amount of weight when I was still married and quite unhappy. And it's helped me lose a lot of weight and stay healthy, really.
So is the things that you've tried, because obviously you've got to keep an open mind when you're trying to discover what really makes you tick. Have there been some things that you've discovered that you really don't like doing, that you've tried and just thought, actually, no, that's just not for me at all?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Well, dating was one. I'll happily date if you know what the person, looks like, and that is reasonably, nice person. But online dating, that was one thing that didn't work out at all. What else did I try that I wasn't? I mean, I'm not. Oh, I joined a gym, and that was good for what I needed it to be. So I joined a gym just straight after my marriage ended, and I was still actually living with my ex-husband. We were in different bedrooms, etc., and I just needed a bit of a focus to help me, get out of the house and focus on something else. And that really did serve a wonderful purpose at the time, and it helped me get from, gosh, I think back now, this kind of very overweight, very unhealthy, very unconfident person that I was, to someone now who can exercise, well, respectably. I'm still crap at running, and I
so am I, but
necessary evil. But I can hold my own now when it comes to physical activity. But I remember my show round, and it's something I wrote about ages ago, actually. My first show round at the gym literally didn't even occur to me to buy the right kit to go in. So I had a normal bra on, which is a challenge to work out when you've got boobs the size of mine. Normal, not even a sports bra. I wear 2 sports bras now. I had leggings on that were like baggy and not even sports leggings, dirty trainers. I don't know what I was thinking. My ex-husband's old T-shirt, because we were still living together, so I just grabbed one of his because I felt embarrassed about my figure. And I walked in there and just felt immediately like a complete imposter, and I can't do this. What am I doing here? And I for quite some time after that, I would turn up in this completely inadequate kit. I don't know, people must have thought, and it just took me ages to realise actually you're worthy of investing in yourself.
Yes, that was going to be my next question. Are you comfortable now being able to recognise that you deserve to spend the money on yourself? Because it's a hard habit to break, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm more comfortable than ever with it now, but I still see hangovers from those days. Like, I remember, and my sister goes mad with me. I went running in the rain last summer, and it hadn't occurred to me. And it's not like I'm martyring myself, going, "Oh, I can't afford the right kit," or "I don't deserve it." I went running. I just genuinely didn't think that it was essential. So I went running in the rain with no running jacket, so I just had a hoodie on tied around my waist because it was boiling. And I had my phone and my car keys in a doggy poo bag, one of his poo bags, and I was running along with this bag swinging, and my run leader said, what are you doing? Why have you not got a running belt? And I kind of said, what's a running belt? I just didn't think. She gave me her running belt. She said, have this. And it transformed excuse me, the way I run now. So I can put my stuff in a pocket and feel like a proper runner. And just for so many years, I just cheated myself out of investing in myself. And there's some things you have to invest in, like the right kit, and you deserve to work out well and have a bit of sparkle in your workout if that's what you want. It's just fascinating how it genuinely never occurred to me that I needed the right gear to work out in, or indeed I should have a hobby, that required a little bit of investment. It's crazy.
No, it is. And I think that's something that I really discovered through the lingerie. I never used to, I was always bottom of the list and would feel guilty at thinking I was going to spend money on myself. And then when I did get divorced, I treated myself every month to a new set of lingerie. And it just psychologically, it just changed something in me and just made me realize actually I can do this and I deserve to do it. And it's dropping that guilt. Women have so much guilt put on them in society. It's just over generations, it's just piled on us, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily the same for men, because they're the ones with the hobbies, which is great, and it's wonderful. And a lot of women are happy, being at home, and maybe that's what they enjoy doing. But I think as a single woman, you don't necessarily want to be holed up at home all the time, and you need something for you, especially if your children or your child are going to stay with your co-parenting, so they're going to stay with their other parent. But the weekends or regularly, what are you going to do? Just sit on your own in the house all the time. So yeah, it's definitely a mixture of societal guilt and pressure I just put on myself that I wasn't worth investing in. And I'm not sure if that's why I gained so much weight when I was at the tail end of my marriage, because I just didn't think I was worthy of, subconsciously, of having a nice figure and being happy with the way that I looked. I really don't know.
If you could go back now to tell yourself one piece of advice at the beginning of this journey when you got divorced, what would it be, do you think?
I'm really not sure, and the reason I say that is because for me, the journey that I've been on, this breadcrumb thing, following the breadcrumbs, the answers only reveal themselves to you very, very slowly, and I think when you're ready to receive them. So a lot of the things that I've done, in the last year or so, would never have occurred to me to do before that. And I quite like the way that things have unfolded for me at the right pace. So I would obviously always say to myself, be kind to yourself, stop feeling so guilty about everything, and, pursue your dreams. But that's hard to do when you don't know what your dreams are. So I kind of feel like everything's probably happened as it should, even though it was a hard journey at first. Things kind of seem to be getting better and better the more confident I become and the more knowledgeable I am about what I need to make me happy and make my life successful, I suppose.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I know that you and I have both written for Zenat's fabulous 40 and Beyond magazine, which I'm a huge fan of, because I just think she has really created something that represents modern midlife women as they are, instead of a lot of the magazines that I feel lack something. How do you feel about the way that midlife women are represented in society now by the media and advertising? Do you think we're getting better?
Yes, I definitely think we're getting better. However, I think there's a big gap between kind of younger women who are kind of very beautiful, aesthetically gorgeous, and then you go to your kind of Helen Mirrens, your Judi Dench's, who are like, yes, you are amazing and still so beautiful. But what's in between? So I think that's a gap that needs to be filled, and I agree. I think 40 and Beyond magazine is doing that incredibly well. I also hate the way that we pit women against each other. So there's this assumption that two women working in a professional capacity will automatically either be best buddies or hate each other. Why can't you just be working alongside each other? Why do you have to be pigeonholed into a certain kind of type of relationship? And I also don't like the way women are treated and scrutinised for their bodies, and that whole kind of trashy magazine culture that picks women apart as they're getting older, particularly. But it's even worse for younger women, based on the fact that you might have a bit of cellulite, or you might perhaps be a few pounds heavier than what someone else dictates is the perfect body. That's not good. That's not good at all. And I think what we're seeing now is women like Zena, I guess, owning that and trying to flip the script a little bit. So it's good to be a part of that movement.
Yeah, it really is. And it does feel like a midlife movement at the moment. It does feel like people are coming together on social media, collaborations like you and I doing today. It does feel like people are really opening up the conversation, which has got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's so much to talk about at this age as well. There's a lot to talk about at any age, but I'm not sure if people are ready or brave enough kind of before they reach the 40s to kind of just open their life up to anyone or to the kind of open market. I think when you get to your 40s and beyond, you're more resilient to tell your story, and the life skills to deal with the fallout of that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to watching the rest of your journey and reading your blogs from your late 40s to your 50s, Claire. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it progresses. So thank you for being so honest in them, because I do think it's important that we keep things real on the internet, and for women to access, relatable stories. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
My last 4 questions that I ask all my guests are the same. So if you have one book that's inspired you, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Okay. That is really, really difficult to answer. I read a lot, but I read anything from kind of romantic, crappy, not literature at all, novels, through to factual things. So I will really struggle to answer that. There was a book called No One Tells You This. I can't remember the author's name, but I'll be able to follow up with it. And I found that to be quite revelatory, and as I said before, very comforting and validating. So I'd recommend that one, particularly for women, like me, who found themselves to be single, for any length of time, really, and want to feel more empowered rather than how society makes us feel. So probably that one.
Fabulous. And what about a piece of music or a song that's always motivated you? Have you always had a go-to song in the last few years?
Yeah, the reason I'm laughing is because I just think about my family and parties, which will always end up with me singing extremely badly to Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston and Boyz II Men. I'm obsessed with the big ballads and the big soul singers. And I genuinely believe that I can sing like them when I've had a few glasses of Pinot.
Fabulous.
I've got an awful singing voice. So probably I do like a bit of Mariah, and I love Whitney Houston, and the parallels, of every woman's life who goes through struggle. They just capture it so well. So anything by them.
Right, brilliant. I shall add that to the list. And what about who inspires you?
Who inspires me? My sister inspires me a lot. She has been through her own struggles, as we all do, and she is now a very successful businesswoman. She's also a lovely, generous person. She's just one of those people who you think, you've really got your shit together. So, but also more broadly, I know I sound like the Waltons, but my mum and my dad, my parents are hugely inspiring to me, and their relationship is inspiring to me as well, because they've been together like a million years, and they've got that chemistry, and they're happy, and I think that's what I aspire to, and that's what I'm happy to wait for.
Yeah, that's lovely. One thing I was going to ask you is because a lot of women don't do things because they're worried about what other people close to them will think. So not the stranger in the street, but the family, their friends. So when you first started the blog, and obviously you were sharing your vulnerabilities and the real life situation, what was the kind of response? Were you worried about those?
No, I wasn't worried about my family for a second. They've always been mega supportive, because they know that how much I love doing it. I worry more, and I've again really tried to work on this. I worry more about like people who know me but don't know me.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that one. Yeah.
And I really try and sort of say, no, bugger it. I live my life, and what people think's none of my business, which is, I think is true. But no, I was never worried about, certainly with the blogging, what anyone close to me thought, because they've all been 1,000,000% supportive.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Because I grew up in a small town. I lived there all my life, and it was the fear of what people, like you say, that think they know you but don't know you. It was more what they're going to think about me, and what are they going to say about me. And then I thought, actually, that's ridiculous, because I don't actually care what these people think about me. It's not my place to worry about that. So you've got to just push past it.
And as you get more and more engagement, and you kind of on a much bigger platform, you do stop worrying about that, because when you're in the early stage, it's uncomfortable because you know that your followers are largely made up of people who do fall into, people who know you from saying hello in the street or whatever. But as you kind of grow, you stop worrying about that, because you're kind of talking to a much more diverse and larger platform, I think.
Yeah. And my last question I ask all my guests, if you could pay yourself one compliment, what would it be?
I would say that I'm quite brave. I think I've been through some huge life challenges, and so has everyone else. I'm nothing special, but I've survived, and I want to help other people survive too.
Survived and thriving, Claire. That's what I love to see.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm finding a wooden surface to touch, yes.
How can people find out about you and read your blogs?
So the best place to go, I guess, is Facebook or Instagram. So my handle is my40pluslife.me, 40 the number plus the word. And that's kind of got my links to my website in there, and I post very regularly. So they're the best places to go, really.
Brilliant. Well, I shall share all the links on the show notes afterwards. It's been an absolute pleasure to connect again, and I hope our paths cross again soon.
Yeah, likewise. It'd be lovely to talk to you again, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Claire, and thanks for keeping it real.
No worries. Same to you.
Take care.
Thanks a lot. See you later.
See you.